We are just about to depart Alum Bay and make our way up the cliff road to the Needles batteries and viewpoint. Please bear in mind, however, that from here on we will encounter high hedgerows and parts of the cliff face are susceptible to high winds, so please be aware, especially if you are sitting on the outside part of the upper deck. Coming into view shortly, over to the right, is the chairlift, which takes passengers down to the beach at Alum Bay. Weather permitting, there is sometimes a trip around the bay in a small boat, which will take you all the way out to the Needles. This name came from Needle Rock, a 120 feet high column of rock, which was also known as Lot's Wife. This column fell into the sea during a storm in 1764, the stump of which can still be seen at low tide. From then on, the site was known as the Needles. The Needles Lighthouse was built in the 1850s and is still operational today, although it is now unmanned as it became fully automated in 1994. On a clear day, you can see the whole way along the south coast, from Southampton to Bournemouth there in the distance. Across the Solent, you can see the estuary that leads into Lymington Harbour and the flat plain of the New Forest, which still covers some 92,000 acres. We will shortly be approaching the Needles Old Battery, which was originally built in 1863 to protect against invasion by the French. West Point was particularly well defended, with Fort Redoubt at President Bay, the Needles Battery, and a further 5 fortifications around the coast towards Yarmouth. These fortifications were built during the 19th century by Lord Palmerston's government, and as none of them fired a shot in anger until World War I, they were known as Palmerston's Follies. Here at the Old Battery, visitors can access a 60-metre tunnel cut through the chalk, which leads to a searchlight emplacement and gives an up-close view of the Needles rocks. 2 of the original gun barrels are on display in the parade ground, and there are several exhibitions, including one by comic book artist Jeff Campion, who used to draw for the Eagle and Lion comics. The surrounding headlands, encompassing both the old and new batteries, are now in the care of the National Trust. The Needles new battery was built in 1893, after more powerful guns were starting to be used, prompted by concerns that vibration from the larger guns of the old battery would cause the cliffs to collapse and bring everything tumbling into the sea. The new battery in Headland was the site of secret rocket tests in Britain's race for space. The Black Knight and Black Arrow rockets were tested here before being taken out to Woomera in Australia for launching. Black Arrow 3 launched Prospero in October 1971, and it remains the only British satellite ever to be launched by a British rocket. Although no longer transmitting, it still passes overhead twice a day. As we climb up the hill, you will notice the Coastguard lookout tower, nowadays staffed mainly by Coast Watch volunteers, keeping the coastline safe, especially during events such as the Round the Island race and Cows Week. As we continue our climb up to the Needles, you will see the old Coastguard cottages. These cottages are named after 3 local shipwrecks, Pomone, Irex and Varvasi. We are now approaching the turning point and the underground rooms of the Needles new battery. If you follow the road around the corner, beyond the turning circle, the remains of the rocket testing gantries and Needles viewpoint can be found. At this point, we are about 120 metres, or 400 feet, above sea level. If you look straight ahead of the bus, you will get a good view of Alum Bay and the Needles Park. In 2012, the Olympic torch made its way on the chairlift as part of the relay for the 2012 London Olympic Games. In a few moments' time, we will be at the stop for the Needles Old Battery, the entrance to which can be found at the end of the slip road to the left of the bus stop.
We weren't that far away, we just got back. We would have made it walk far.
Solent, and relying on good visibility, you will see Hurst Castle, which was completed in 1544 as one of a chain of coastal fortresses. Hurst Castle was one of the most advanced of the artillery fortresses built by Henry VIII. It was used as a prison for eminent 17th century captives and later strengthened during the 19th and 20th centuries. Its situation at the narrow entrance to the Solent, where the ebb and flow of the tides create strong currents, put would-be invaders at its mercy. After his incarceration in Carisbrooke Castle here on the island, Charles I was imprisoned in Hurst Castle in 1648, before being taken to London for his trial and execution. During World War II, Hurst was manned with coastal gun batteries and searchlights. Opposite Hurst Castle, on the shore of the island, you can see Fort Albert, which was built in 1856 and formed another part of the 19th century defence system against the French. Still largely intact, it has been, in part, converted to luxury accommodation. This was one of the test sites for the Brennan torpedo, an ingenious, wire-guided weapon from the early part of the 20th century. Down to your left is a wonderful view of the celebrated coloured sands of Alum Bay. These sands first appeared on record in 1790, and the Victorians were the first to visit in large numbers, to view both the natural coloured sand cliffs and the stunning landscape. The Victorians were also the first to fill various shaped glass bottles with the natural sand, and to create sand pictures. Naturally occurring cliff falls provide the source for the sand, which is professionally collected, thus the number of available colours can vary from year to year. The cliffs are made up of the mineral quartz, and the 21 different colours that are visible are all tinted by varying amounts of minerals that are naturally present. Use was also made of the white sand, which was quarried, stored at Yarmouth, and taken by schooner to Runcorn to make plate glass. It was also taken to porcelain factories in London, Bristol, Worcester, and the West Indies before the trade ceased in 1851 in favour of French sand. There was once a pier at Alum Bay. It was built in 1873 to allow Victorian paddle steamers to land passengers there. Traffic became less frequent after the First World War, and the pier was eventually declared unsafe in 1925. The pier was destroyed in the winter of 1927 and never replaced. In a few moments we will once again arrive at the Needles landmark attraction, where we will stop briefly before continuing our journey back towards Totland and Yarmouth. This is also the stop for Route 12 towards Mottiston, Bryston, Shorewell and Newport.